If you've never flown with a gun, you probably feel like it's a long, difficult process full of hoops and hassles that's hardly worth going through. And up until a couple weeks ago, I pretty much felt the same way. Turns out, it couldn't be much easier. And in this video, I'm going to tell you 3 key steps to flying with a gun. Hey everybody, it's the Late Boy Scout. Thanks for tuning in. Now, before I get into these 3 keys, I thought first I'd give you a little bit of background and tell you why I was flying, why I decided to bring my handgun, and why I was even able to do it. So I live in Utah, and I was flying to Florida. Me and my family were visiting some relatives there. We were going to have a nice time. I thought because it's in a different place, a place I'm unfamiliar with, a place they're unfamiliar with, it would be great if I could have my concealed carry weapon with me. My concealed carry weapon, by the way, is this right here, the Shield from Smith & Wesson in 9mm. This is my everyday carry pistol. And I wanted to have that with me in Florida if it were at all possible. I looked it up, turns out Utah and Florida have complete concealed carry reciprocity, so because I have a concealed carry permit for Utah, I could legally concealed carry in Florida as well, which was great news. As soon as I figured out that I could carry, I said, man, I have got to figure out what the process is like in order to fly with a gun. I don't care how complicated it is. I don't care how many hoops I have to jump through. I gotta figure this out and be able to fly to Florida so I can have my gun with me on this vacation. I watched a couple of YouTube videos. I did some research on the actual airline's website as well as the TSA's website to figure out what the laws are, what the rules are. After everything I read and after my personal experience of flying out there and flying back again, I can tell you guys that it's really as simple as 3 steps. Number 1, pack it empty. Number 2, pack it securely. And number 3, tell them you have it. So as I said, you want to pack your gun empty. That means no round in the chamber for sure. Also, don't have a magazine inserted that is loaded with rounds. You can of course pack the gun with the magazines, but I would suggest that you don't have those loaded at all. The reason why is they ask you to make sure that the primers of the bullets cannot be discharged in any way. They have to be protected. So what I chose to do was take all the rounds out of the magazines, place them into a plastic box, a little ammo box that's used for reloading and so forth, put the rounds in there, and I packed that separately in the same bag, but not in the same case as the gun. I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. It's also worth noting that you're somewhat limited on how much ammunition you can pack. At least with Southwest Airlines, which is who I flew with, they ask you to only bring 11 pounds. So check with your airline that you're flying with before you start packing your rounds. They actually ask you not to have a magazine inserted in the gun. I'm not sure how much that matters if the magazine is empty, but that is something they ask for. Now, the second point I want to make, pack it securely. They have specific instructions about what type of container you can pack your gun in. They don't want it to be loose inside of some kind of a check bag or in a soft case or anything like that. It should be in a hard-sided case of some sort, whether it's metal or plastic, and it should be lockable. And here's the case that I use to carry my gun. And you can see that the cable is actually attached to the bag. I'll address that in a little more in a minute. And this particular one is a combination lock safe. And they never actually asked me to open the box up. All I did was pull this out of my bag and show it to them at check-in. They looked at it, said, okay, that's good, and then we moved on. This cable right here is something that this case actually came with, so that, again, you can attach it to the inside of a car or any other location to secure the box. What I did for that is I actually used the cable and attached it through the H2O port right there on top of the bag and onto the top carry handle right up here. I didn't want to take any risks with my electronics, with my gun, or anything else that was important to me, so I decided to go ahead and lock the case to the inside of the bag. Any kind of deterrent helps, and that's all I see this as, a deterrent. Certainly doesn't give me perfect security. They could steal the whole bag if they wanted to, but again, it's a deterrent and it helps. It's also worth pointing out that whatever hard case it is you have doesn't have to go inside of some other checked bag. The case itself could be the checked bag. That is a perfectly acceptable way to fly with your firearm. It goes without saying, really, that you cannot carry on a firearm for any reason. If you can't carry a knife, if you can't carry little tiny multi-tools that could potentially have a knife on them, well, you certainly can't carry a handgun, so don't even bother thinking about that. And the last step, of course, step 3, is tell them you have it. So you packed your gun, you've unloaded it, it's packed securely inside your bag or in your case or whatever. All you got to do at that point is when you go to check your bags with your airline, you just walk up and say, I have a firearm to declare. They will pull out a small little white card with some red writing on it, and they'll start to fill out a certain amount of information, hand it to you to fill out the rest of the information. You put your address, I think I had an email address, maybe a phone number on there, and then my flight information, and then I signed the back of it, basically certifying that I followed all the rules that are associated with flying with a firearm, i.e. it's not loaded, it doesn't have a magazine in it, it's locked, and all that good stuff. Now, if you're afraid that you're going to be subject to pat-downs and long forms and interviews and all kinds of crazy stuff before they allow you to finally get onto your airplane, don't worry about any of that stuff because it doesn't happen. The airline employee will ask to see your case. In my case, again, they didn't ask for me to open the case and show them the handgun. All I had to do was show them the case, let them see that it was a locking case and that it fulfilled the requirements that they asked for. At that point, put that form back on top of the case, taped it on there, stuffed it back in the bag where it was, and from that point on, they actually sent me to the additional screening point. All they did was run my bag through a big x-ray machine. When it came out the other side, they said, see you later, we're done. That was it. The whole process, each time I went through it, added literally about 5 minutes to my check-in time. There was no additional hang-ups, hoops to jump through, or hassles of any kind. Flying with a firearm turns out to be extremely easy. The only thing you probably need to be concerned about are the laws of the state you're traveling into. Is the firearm you have legal in that state? Is there some feature your firearm doesn't have that it has to have to be legal there? Are you legal to carry your handgun there? Do you have to be a registered handgun owner or firearm owner of whatever type in that state? These are things you need to find out before you fly there. But if you find out, as I did, that the laws of your state that you are abiding by are very much reflected in the state that you're going to, by all means, pack your firearm into your luggage, check it, go through these very simple steps, and enjoy having your firearm with you at your destination. It's that easy. I'm Late Boy Scout. Thanks very much for watching this, and I encourage you to fly with a firearm next chance you get it. We'll see you.
The last gun I want to talk about is one of the funnest guns I ever owned. I'm talking about the Kel-Tec Sub 2000. This gun was really sweet. It folds in half. It's stored in really small places. That's so cool. It's an awesome feature. You can shoot 9mm or 40 cal